This is a recording of this year's Virtual Residency Fair. We'd like to take the time to thank the programs that volunteered their time to present to this year's applicants. This year's PM&R Scholars Virtual Residency Fair is supported by PM&R Recap and Ultrasound Guidance. PM&R Recap is the leading resource for your physiatry board preparation, clinical preparation, audition rotations, and beyond. PM&R Recap offers 35 hours of review videos, hundreds of review questions, and oral board cases to help you become the best physiatrist that you can be. Head to pmnrrecap.com to learn more. Ultrasound Guidance is the innovative new online ultrasound learning platform that gives you instant access to expert instruction. With rapid scans and complete scans of every joint and peripheral nerve, Ultrasound Guidance is the perfect way to jumpstart your MSK ultrasound learning. Visit ultrasoundguidance.com to learn more.
All right, so I'm Alyssa Warden. I'm the chief resident at the University of Wisconsin-Madison at the Physical Medicine Rehab residency, which is hopefully why you're all here. This, of course, is a beautiful picture, one of my favorites of actual Madison, kind of downtown, if anyone's never been there. Before I get too far, I want to give everybody a chance to introduce themselves. So I have some people with me today. Dr. Poliak, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Michelle Poliak-Tunis. I am the program director here and excited for you guys to learn more about us. And I'll pass it on to Dr. Sewer.
All right, and I am Michael Sewer, associate to the program director, did residency and fellowship here. So hopefully I can answer some of the questions in the chat as Alyssa is going through there too.
You're looking way too casual, Dr. Sewer. I never get to see you like it.
Until next Friday when we start football, Alyssa.
That's true. That's true. All right. And of course, our program could not run without Delilah. So she is our fabulous program coordinator. I'll let her introduce herself too.
Hi, everyone. I am Delilah. I am the program coordinator. I just wanted to introduce Bascom Mypomsky. He's wearing his UW-Madison Badgers bandana, and he's named after one of the most iconic buildings on UW-Madison campus. So thanks for coming out tonight.
Super cute. All right, so we are UW-Madison. Like I said, we're in Madison, Wisconsin. We are an advanced program, so we don't have an affiliated intern year program, which means you would start your PGY2 year. We take 3 residents per year, and then in addition, we take 2 pain fellows every single year. And we are terrible at taking group photos, evidenced by this picture. This is, believe it or not, the best photo we could get during graduation this year. The photographer thought it would be really funny to take like a jumping photo and tried to make all of us, all get in midair at some point during this picture. And clearly only half of us tried to get the memo, and some people were like, that's not happening. So again, this was the best photo we got. Please don't judge us for that, but that's what we have. So just wanted to introduce some more of our faculty. This picture was taken at our welcome party that we had for our incoming residents and fellows. This picture was over at UW-Madison has a really cool place called the Union, where we all hung out and got some snacks and some food and drinks. And on the bottom right there, of course, when we were all doing things virtually, we still tried to get together as often as we could. And of course, our residents, like I said, don't judge us. Group photos are terrible. Bottom left one evidenced by that. So we have some new residents joining us this year who we're super excited about. Dan, Tom, and Shivani up in the right-hand corner. So we're thrilled that they're with us. Getting into some of the nitty-gritty details, we have several different rotations, of course. Our inpatient rotations take place at several different locations. One of them, the main one being kind of our rehabilitation hospital, which I'll talk about in a little bit, Central Wisconsin Center, as well as the pediatric rotations. And I'll get into detail about each of these. And then our outpatient rotations are kind of a mix of different clinical sites. So those are made up of kind of what we call our general rehab rotation. We have an EMG rotation, musculoskeletal, community. There's a consult rotation where we do most of our inpatient consults on the, kind of in the main hospital. Pediatrics, again, like I said, I'll talk about, and then elective time. So we have 3 months of elective time. It's kind of built into our curriculum, and you can kind of choose to do just about anything that you want during your elective, which is pretty great. This is one of our best photos, I will say, at graduation, which is pretty good. So getting into the hospital details, this is our UW main hospital, which is downtown Madison. It's a level 1 trauma center, has a stroke center affiliated, about 500 beds. was ranked the #1 hospital in Wisconsin again this year, not to flex or anything. And then we have our UW Rehab Hospital, which is where we spend the majority of our time when we're on inpatient. It is a standalone hospital. We take about 50 patients or so. Opened in 2015, so it's still relatively new. We have a really nice big gym. And then our admissions, of course, are varying from, kind of your typical stroke, brain injury, spinal cord injury, amputee, various orthopedic injuries or traumas, and then, our debility patients from prolonged hospital stays, whether that be transplant or COVID related, etc. On the pediatric rotation, we spend some time in the Children's Hospital, which is connected to the main hospital downtown, which is also a level 1 trauma center for peds. They have a really great inpatient rehab unit, which isn't huge, but we do get some really great consults on that service as well. And then we do participate in a various amount of multidisciplinary outpatient clinics. So those vary from cerebral palsy, spina bifida, neuromuscular clinics, neuro-oncology. Those types of clinics are really cool. So we work with a vast amount of different specialists with those clinics too. The Central Wisconsin Center is fairly unique, so I did just want to touch on it briefly. It was a facility kind of established in the 50s for those with intellectual and physical disabilities. So we provide kind of short-term and long-term services at this place. And we have a fantastic team of different therapists and, all the disciplines that are kind of listed there. We have an awesome nutritionist who I've learned a ton from, as well as, kind of pharmacy, of course, we have rehab physicians, psych, social work, etc. They also have a really great wheelchair modification area where they do kind of in-house orthotics and wheelchair modifications, which is really cool. And we do get a chance to moonlight here in our PGY 3 and 4 year once you have your full license. So that's kind of cool too. We do have an affiliated VA in Madison, and we spend a little bit of time there. We have an outpatient clinic where we do kind of our spine and musculoskeletal, a little bit of that there. And then they also have an amputee clinic there, which you can spend some time in. Like I said, our outpatient clinics kind of vary in site. So we have what's pictured here is East Madison Hospital, and there's an affiliated clinic there, which is one of our newer facilities, which is really pretty. And then we also spend time at Middleton, at Research Park, where we have a spine clinic there. Middleton, I should say, is more of our general rehab clinic. So we see a lot of neuro rehab patients there, in addition to some spine and musculoskeletal, but it's mostly neuro. We have a pain clinic, of course, since we have the fellowship. And then we have Madison Surgery Center, where we do a lot of our procedures, ultrasound guided and fluoroscopy. And then East Madison Hospital, like I just said. Didactic curriculum. I told you, group photos, they're just awful. We're being super dorky in this one. They're every Friday morning, and topics include, that whole list there. I don't need to go through them all. I do really like that our didactics are a mix of faculty and resident led, which I'll get to in kind of the next slide. So we have those every Friday morning, like I said, but we also have additional didactics on various rotations. So when you're on the pain rotation, for example, you get some lectures from various faculty affiliated in the pain clinic. And then when you're on inpatient, we have our hospitalists as well as our therapists that kind of give us some lectures during those rotations too, which are really helpful. In terms of the resident-led didactics, so we do journal clubs, which is kind of self-explanatory, right? We're talking about various journals that have been published, hopefully recently. We do some clinical case conferences where we kind of share really interesting cases that we've had and do a brief presentation on that. Morbidity and mortality, of course. We do have some chance to do kind of some board review just as residents, which is kind of led amongst ourselves. So practice questions and things like that. And then we all do grand rounds as well. So you do that your 3 and 4 year. We kind of spare our PGY2s from giving grand rounds. And this year, I unfortunately had COVID during orientation. So I am pictured virtually in this picture, but we still managed to get a group photo at least. So some of the procedure opportunities that we have on the far left here, this is at the Madison Surgery Center. So like I said, our fluoroscopy suites are there. All of our awesome staff that we get to work with. In the middle, that's a picture of one of the mannequins that one of the pharmaceutical companies brought in to help us kind of practice doing botulinum toxin injections. I think this one might have been for cervical dystonia or maybe migraine, because we kind of do a mix of both in addition to spasticity. And then the far right, we had a like a nerve cadaver course that was led by our neurosurgeons and our hand surgeons last year in the spring, which was really cool because we were just kind of dissecting the cadavers, which we haven't had a chance to do since med school or even before probably. And so we had a chance to kind of do that with our neurosurgeons and get a really good look at the brachial and lumbosacral plexus. And then they let us kind of practice doing actual neurosurgery. So Kellen, one of our previous residents who just graduated last year, is actually suturing some nerve cells there, which is pretty cool. So here's a list of our procedures. As you can see, these are our numbers from 21. We don't have any issues getting our procedure numbers. So you can see the list of them there. In terms of logistics, we do take home calls for a week at a time. So you'll take obviously more your PGY 2 year than you do in your PGY 4 year. So 9, 6, and 3 weeks respectively. We do have something called backup call, which doesn't require you taking a pager or anything. You're just kind of going in over the weekend to help round on some patients, to help the primary person out, and then you're kind of leaving. So it's a couple of hours Saturday, a couple of hours on Sunday. We do have that moonlighting opportunity that I mentioned at Central Wisconsin Center once you get your full license. There's our vacation and our kind of days off policies there. Our salaries are listed. We do get a stipend to kind of go to conferences or help, fund with various question banks and kind of things like that to practice for boards, as well as covered memberships to AAP and AAP&R, which if you don't have as a student, I would highly recommend, because I think they're both free. For research, this is a list of all the ongoing research projects that we have. I'm probably missing a bunch as well. We do have a research day every year where we kind of get a chance to present our research to each other in our department. And then this year, a bunch of us were able to go to AAP, and then a bunch of us are going to AAP&R this year as well to help present our research and case reports. So a little bit more about Madison, the city. It is the capital of Wisconsin, the second largest city. There's a population that was in 2019. I probably could have updated that. But it's one of the only cities kind of built on an isthmus, which is a harder word to say than you would think. It's formed between two lakes, essentially, which is kind of cool. So it gives us a lot of opportunity to do really fun recreational things. There's tons of parks and trails and bike paths and things like that. This is a picture of the huge farmers market that we have every Saturday, which is just around the Capitol, which is super fun. Lots of cheese, as you might have guessed. So here's a picture of one of the big state parks that's about an hour from Madison. Of course, in the fall colors, the Arboretum that the UW sponsors is really pretty. Like I said, the water sports are big here, so lots of boating, kayaking, paddleboarding, that kind of thing. And there's a really nice path that goes all the way around the lakes, which is kind of fun too. In terms of entertainment, definitely not missing anything in terms of Madison. So we have the Union here, which I talked about a little bit earlier, which is right on the water, which is a great place for all the kind of UW alumni and associated faculty and students to hang out. Plenty of nightlife in terms of restaurants and bars, lots of concerts, food festivals, that kind of thing. Of course, can't go anywhere without mentioning professional sports. That's a big thing in Wisconsin. So the various teams here. Milwaukee is actually not that far of a drive from us, so if you ever wanted to go see a game, that's certainly more than feasible. And then, of course, in Madison, we have plenty of sports opportunities to go watch those things too. So these are all of our contact information. I'll leave this slide up for a little bit so you guys get a chance to kind of write this stuff down if you want, or take a screenshot. We do have actually a virtual PM&R meet and greet tomorrow evening. So this is just a chance for you to kind of get to meet all of our current residents and talk a little bit about the program, kind of what makes us a little bit unique, what people like about our program, strengths, weaknesses, all that good stuff. And just kind of talk with our current residents. So it'll just be residents on this talk, no faculty or anything, I don't think. So feel free to tune in. And if you don't already follow us on social media, I would recommend it. Of course, I'm a little biased, but if you are interested in attending that virtual meet and greet tomorrow night, the link is in our bio on both of those social media sites. And that, I think, is my last slide. So I'll go back to our contact information so you guys can see that. But I will open it up for any questions that anyone might have about our program or Madison in general or anything like that.
All right, so Chris Vaughn wrote, where have graduating residents gone in recent years? So all over. So the class that just graduated, one is doing a pain fellowship in Milwaukee. One is actually going to be joining us as faculty during neuro rehab, and one is currently deciding to do locums and trying to figure out where he wants to go. The year before that, we had two do pain fellowship, and then one did a palliative care fellowship. So we kind of have a mixed bag of where people are going. Have we accepted IMG applicants but we have interviewed applicants in the past, and I believe, I'm not sure if we've accepted any, but I know we definitely have interviewed. Michael Sewer, you're usually on board answering questions. Where are you?
He's slacking.
Okay, hold on.
I can answer this one. Inpatient,
Okay.
outpatient time. So
Yeah, perfect.
we actually do 3 months of inpatient during PGY 2, 3, and 4 years. So it's kind of evenly distributed. During your PGY 2 year, you also get time at the Central Wisconsin Center as well as inpatient pediatrics. And then I think you get, that's also in our EMG time is, so you get 3 months of EMG during that year. PGY 3 is when we start to introduce a little bit more of the like outpatient clinical setting. So that's when your pain rotation is, for example, when you're doing a lot of those procedures, doing more spasticity management in our neuro rehab clinics, general rehab, that kind of thing. And then your PGY 4 year, you also get, like I said, the 3 months of inpatient in addition to your elective time.
All right.
Next
sorry.
question, does your program have any community volunteering opportunities?
And the answer is yes. Michael Sewer answered that, but yes, there's tons of things to do. The CrossFit Games were just in Madison this past weekend, so we had some people attending those. There's a lot of adaptive sports leagues that you can do, as well as Dr. Sewer goes and volunteers his time doing sideline coverage at some of the high schools. So there's tons of things to do. And then Nicholas wrote, how is it getting involved with the local athletic teams? That's something residents usually do. Oh, so Dr. Sewer just answered that for you. Does your program offer any leadership training for residents who might be interested in being physician leader in the future?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'll let you answer that.
So as chief resident, all the chief residents at UW get invited to kind of a, I don't know, what do you want to call it? Extra thing where we get to have some leadership training. I haven't done it yet this year since I've only been chief for like 2 months, but that's coming up, I think, in the middle of August. So
It's a chief retreat between all the.
That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Also, we encourage all of our residents to get involved in AAP, PM&R. There's plenty of leadership opportunities within those institutions as well. UW Madison athletic programs. Michael, do you want to respond to that? Do we get involved in UW Madison athletic programs?
So yeah, I mean, I'll just do it instead of typing. As far as actual UW Badgers go, they have sports fellowships for primary care and for surgery. So getting involved in doing actual sports coverage for the Badgers is rare. I did it for a couple of things as a resident, but I'd worked with them a whole lot. They're also very, very protective over the D1 athletes. So most likely at some point you'll be seeing athletes in clinic in some regard, but actually doing Badger sideline coverage is pretty hard to do. That being said, there are a ton of opportunities to do things, whether that's working with me at DeForest, which is one of the high schools, doing hockey or not hockey, but doing football or wrestling. And then once you do that and kind of get comfortable with it, the state championships mostly run through Madison. So there's basketball, football, wrestling, hockey, a bunch of opportunities to go and do sports coverage. And when you're doing it with the state championship stuff, you're working with the UW Badger athletic trainers who are incredible to work with. So you'll work with some of the trainers. You will work in clinic with actually the team physician for football and well, it's primary care and orthopedic surgeon who work with the football team and some of the other sports med docs you'll kind of work with intermittently, cover some of the other teams. But yeah, we all rotate with the sports med guys, but getting on the sideline for Badgers is tough.
Great question, Alexa. So mentorship was a big deal to me when I was looking at residency programs. So the really nice thing about being such a small program is that Thanks, Dr. Stewart. The nice thing about being such a small program is it honestly feels like everybody is kind of your mentor. You do get assigned a faculty mentor once you kind of figure out what you might be interested in. So when you're entering your PGY 2-year, you get assigned a mentor, and then based on your clinical interests kind of moving forward, you can obviously change if you want to, or have several mentors if you want to. And they also really help with kind of fellowship planning. I would say we have a good mix of faculty and kind of all the different spectrums, if you will. So be that, pain or neuro rehab or inpatient or things like that. I really feel like things are well covered. And like I said, I feel like everyone's a little bit of my mentor. So definitely.
And I'll echo that. So what I do is I usually will email you before you start your PGY 2-year, say, hey, what do you think you might be interested in? So the minute you join us as July 1st, your PGY 2-year, you already have a mentor. Now you can always change that mentor, but just I want you to feel like you have someone to connect with immediately once you start here. So we implemented that as of a few years ago. Any other questions?
No, and back in my day, Dr. Poliak-Tunis was my mentor, and she did such a wonderful job.
I didn't know
forgotten,
that.
Michelle. I haven't forgotten.
That's adorable.
And now he's my associate program director.
And we share an office.
I think, and we share an office. We have faculty, to Alexa, to respond to you. I mean, faculty that are interested in all different facets of PM&R. And so you'll hear from all of us. We may all be biased in our own little ways because, obviously we chose what we do within PM&R. But again, all of us are here to help you figure out what you might want to do.
And I will say, like, one of our current PGY 3s is considering palliative, which isn't necessarily built into our curriculum in terms of year 2 and 3 year. There's time for elective time in your 4th year. But that being said, we knew that she had that interest. And so we tried to get her some time during her 3rd year to be able to kind of experiment with that a little bit. So that is a possibility too.
There are no opportunities to do prelim IM year at UW-Madison because they reserve that for, I think they're maybe, I don't know exactly what fields, but unfortunately there aren't any for that. All right, I think we're gonna get booted. It was really nice talking to all of you guys. Please meet our residents tomorrow night. I won't be on there, but I will be part of the AAE PM&R meet and greet, I think in a few weeks in August as well. And feel free to reach out to any of us at any time.
Definitely. Shoot us an email if you have other questions.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Wisconsin. Again, if anybody has further questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat.